Peace. Appreciate y'all for pulling up. Make sure we jump on that like button out there. Yeah, let's make sure we on that like button out there, fam. Make sure we share the video out. Give me a little second and we're going to get started. Hold on, y'all. Make sure y'all jump on that like button. Spiritual Mindset, South Carolina in the building, man. Drop them area codes. Where y'all at? Turn up one time, man. Shout out to everybody in the building. How y'all feeling out there?
Recordings just.
Shout out to Donna Grant, 757 in the building. Shout out to Roster 559 in the building. The homie Chief of Chief. Wild Indian Dunn, 803. Orangeburg in the building. Turn up what time, man?
Yeah. From my lady. DJ. Let's go. Come on.
About this might be a little bit before y'all time. Jump on that like button, man. They keep them likes up. They catch up on them likes. I know this might be before y'all time.
And I can wait for my love. This your boy Pikachu. And anybody love. Come on. Everyone needs a love. Rock. Any love. Oh, everybody feels a love. Any love. Wait, yeah.
Yeah, y'all don't know nothing about that.
Don't bounce back. Ain't no bounce back. Yeah.
What up, though? Turn up one time for the one time. It's going down. Oh man, I can smell the palm trees. I can smell the fresh beaches. Oh, I can feel the sand in between my toes. I can see the skies. Oh, where it's cold here, it will be warm. Oh, I can't wait. It's gonna be great. I told you to save the date. We changed it from the 8th. November 10th to the 13th. We rocking out the Indian way in Mexico. Pyramid Tour, BCU Homecoming 2023. God damn it, I said turn up. God damn it, I said turn up. I'm trying to figure out why we got more women. It's 2 women to each man. Where are the fellas stepping up to go to Mexico? It's not too late to be great. Lady, this for you. Look at them New Orleans niggas. They like that shit. What them New Orleans niggas at in the building? They like that type of shit right there. Yeah, that shit there, that shit there, turned them up, huh? You know, be there. As of right now, our count is double digits. So I am, appreciative of that. That we are in the double digits in the numbers, but I would love to see more of us, you understand me, come out. So tomorrow at 7 p.m. Central Time, mark your calendars. I may go live because it's gonna be a Zoom. It's gonna be a Zoom meeting. We won't do this one on Discord, and I'm ready to rock. Lolita, what's up with it, Lolita? Lolita gonna be, get with Lolita. Lolita, tell them where you gonna be at. Cause I don't want to be telling your business. Yeah, Lolita, I don't want to tell them your business, but tell them where you gonna be at, Lolita, in a couple weeks. Yeah, okay. If I tell them, they might not believe me, so you might have to tell them where you gonna be at. Lolita, where you gonna be at in a couple weeks? Yeah. They might. Oh, she said Mexico, Mexicano, arriba, viva Mexico. Yeah, it's real. It's really real. What's up with it, girly girl? Girly girl, I sure want you to come. I hope everything work out and the stars align. I still ain't got to meet you yet. Little bitty shit talking ass nigga. I still ain't got to meet your little bitty shit talking ass. And you think you real tough too. Yeah, I guess that's in our Houston nature. We some tough, yeah. Yeah, and you think you tough. I really do want you to come out there in Mexico. Shout out to the Homestead. Shout out to the homie Paul McGlory. Homestead said I definitely had to get me a passport. Now look out, fam, you in Houston. Some places in the United States, you can get a passport in 24 hours. Everybody can't do it. But you in Houston, you can do it. You can get a passport in 24 hours, little Homestead. And shit. Then you get a passport in 24 hours and go to Walgreens, nigga, right there on Homestead and T-Will, nigga, and get your picture taken. Yeah, Homestead and T-Will, nigga, cross street from Shipley's and McDonald's, T-Will Park, nigga, the African hair braiding, next door to the old churches, cross street from Jack in the Box, in that goddamn church. Yeah, and that little seafood joint that stank like a motherfucker, and then the church on the side of it. Yeah, Homestead, man, no excuses, man. Yeah, man. Look, where you at? We know Homestead niggas, when they get a little money, they move to a Tascasita or Humble. Yeah. Yeah, we know when you Homestead niggas get your bread up, you niggas either live in the Tascasita, Humble, or in them new homes out there in Porter. Yeah, you niggas go right down 59. And yeah, y'all ain't going too far. And so shit, you can shoot to the Woodlands. You can shoot to the Woodlands. The Woodlands got them on. They got a spot out there in the Woodlands. You can do it 24 hours. Look, he said I moved to the Woodlands. Okay, well, damn nigga, what I just said. The Woodlands do 24 hours. Yeah, man. Cause look, I went to the Woodlands and got my passport. It's not not the not the DPS office joint. They got one. Look it up, nigga. You in the Woodlands? You right there, and you in the Woodlands. You got enough money to go to Mexico, nigga. Yeah, nigga. That nigga out there in gated communities. Nah, you in the Woodlands, so man, you ain't got no excuse. You right around the corner from the 24-hour spot. See what I'm saying? Yeah, see, it's meant to be. Yeah, nigga, it's meant to be, man. You need to go up there, bring baby if you have to, nigga. You from Homestead, so if baby from somewhere on there Homestead, well, you in the Woodlands, so she probably went to Aldine or Westfield, yeah, you probably New Caney or Tascasita High School, yeah, nigga, yeah. So yeah, he said 24-hour turnaround. Yes, sir. Urban Engine, 24-hour turnaround, man. Houston, Texas. Shout out to Dimples. If y'all see Dimples in the chat, Dimples was over here 2 days. The second day she was here, we was talking about going to Mexico. She bought her registration the same night, and she drove from South Carolina to Atlanta, Georgia, and got her 24-hour passport. Yeah. That's when you know it's real. Man, listen, this lady, her name Dimples. She be in the chat. She was over here, her second day over here. We was talking about going to Mexico. She got the registration, paid hers that night, and she ain't have a passport, or she had to renew it. She drove from South Carolina, y'all, to Atlanta, Georgia, where they do 24-hour passports, and she got hers back. When she come in the chat, I'm gonna tell her to give y'all the game. Yeah, it's real. I'm born here was gonna drive to Washington D.C. to go get his. So yeah, man. He say, I know what you talking about. I'm gonna do it tomorrow. He said, I'm single, so I'm gonna see what's out there. Okay. I say the numbers kind of fucked up, huh? I said more women than men coming. That nigga say, shit. I might need to go and give me a little seat on the plane, man. Go on, get on out there. Get my toes in the sand. Yeah. Key say, yeah, they do them in ATL too. All right, let me take this down, man. I guess we'll do a little bill, a little baby bill. Probably should save it for tomorrow, but content ain't shit to me. We do content in our sleep. All right, let's walk.
I want to spend any time talking about me, but I want to talk about the history that we share. An interesting thing happened to me just recently. I was talking to a lady who, her ancestors worked on the Middleton Plantation. And Middleton did a documentary that has gotten rave reviews. It's now being shown nationwide, but it was all based on the Middletons' connection to Barbados and then to South Carolina. And
all right, they're talking about the Middletons. The Middletons are going to be a royal bloodline. We'll talk about that. But the Middletons will be a royal bloodline.
And Middleton Place Foundation, as it is now, an icon for plantations and for visitors. So this lady told me, you were one of the people featured on this video, on this documentary, which has won a gold award within that category of documentaries. And she said, she lives in New York, and she said, when you gave the presentation, I saw in you a teacher. Now, I taught for a short while when I graduated in Barbados before coming to the US. But I never thought of this kind of interaction. I never thought of it as being a teacher. But I said, okay, I'll put that hat on and I will use that because I taught for a short while. But let's get to the topic that we're talking about. Many people.
Everybody knows you can't buy love, but you can print it.
Whoa. Fair use, educational purposes only.
Between Barbados and the Carolinas, or why there's a link at all, or why do people even talk about Barbados? Because in the minds of many people, if they hear a little accent and if they don't recognize it, they ask, are you from Jamaica or are you from anywhere else? They don't have any idea of Barbados. So I want to show you and talk a little bit about Barbados and the Carolinas, because historians have all been doing lots of research. And these are some of the things they've said about Barbados. They call the Carolinas a colony of a colony. The colony, Carolina, is a colony of Barbados, which was one of the British first colonies. It became the hub for British expansion in the Western world. And even though there was a movement of people coming from Europe and going to Virginia and some of the northern states, the connection between Barbados and the Carolinas, the connections are so very defining that it created a different type of community. So here's a picture of Barbados. It is a small island, 166 square miles. It sits out in the Atlantic. There is an archipelago of islands that stretch from the beginning, the tip of Florida, and it extends all the way down to South America. An archipelago is kind of a chain of islands. So if you look at the map, just to orient yourself, that is what we're talking about. And the most easterly of those islands is Barbados, a small island sitting out in the Atlantic. Now, here's what was going on that occasioned this big connection. The British, along with all of the other colonial powers at that time, they were looking for more colonies. They were looking for places to settle. When the English settled in Barbados in 1627, they experimented with the type of crops that they were looking for, because they were coming from a feudal system where they were familiar with planting and reaping and growing produce. And so they settled in Barbados and they experimented with some of the very crops that were experimented on in Virginia and the Southeast. It wasn't until some Jewish people trying to escape the Inquisition, they landed in Barbados. And it was these Brazilian Jews who introduced sugar. Well, that happened and the whole world changed. Everything changed because sugar became the product that made Barbados stand out. And from that situation, Barbados had first started to get people from Ireland, Scotland, from Wales. The British got those people as indentured servants. Some of them were kidnapped. Some of them were shipped to Barbados because they had committed crime. Sometimes.
Oh, so the Scots, the Irish, so we got European migrations over to Barbados. Why have that been left out the story? Because we have the ships, we have the ports they were taken out of. We had the prices. We understand that the Scots, they charge more for the Scots than they did the Irish, because of their skill. So that overweighs the African part that they're about to try to sprinkle in there.
Small crime, not big crime, but yeah, they were shipped to Barbados. And this term came about to be Barbados. That meant being sent to hell on earth. And so that was the workforce that Barbados used. But when sugar came and they realized that they needed a big, massive workforce, they decided.
Homie Scalp, what's up with it, Scalp?
I did. Okay.
No.
West Africa. And so masses of West Africans were enslaved and brought to Barbados to work on the sugar plantations.
I had to Miss Angela, repping Blackfoot and Cherokee.
And it was there that whole system called the plantation system or the plantocracy became active and vibrant. And here's where our story actually begins in terms of making the linkage. Barbados, this small island, was quickly, over a decade, deforested, and what you had was plantations. Some records say that there were between 500, 700, even 1,000 plantations all over the island. There was only one spot of land that was left in its natural form, but everywhere else on the island, it is relatively flat. It kind of rises and plateaus. And on that little island, plantations popped up everywhere. But it was the British's policy that the oldest.
Hey, Golf, look up, Lolita got the link in the chat. If you look up a couple joints ahead of you, Lolita got the link in the chat.
This child would
Miss Angie speaking to y'all. We Indians, we speak back.
Get land, or would get what the father or the parents were able to bequeath to them. The younger ones, there was, if it's not enough, they didn't get it. So
most people have no clue that in 2020.
Shut your bitch ass up, white boy. Get your whole ass out by bill.
Was in
Get out of our motherfucking business, nigga.
1669, there was a proclamation made in Barbados. It was called the Barbados Proclamation. And that proclamation called.
All right, bet that, fam. Papa Shorty. Hey, y'all, for us, the book, man, let's try to get 100 copies sold, man. Let's try to get 100 copies sold, man, at least. Appreciate y'all support on Bloodlines of the Goers. Shout out to everyone who encouraged me, to keep going, man. Our first book, and then we come back and we added 100 extra pages, to show the growth and the dedication to get better, to write our story, to tell our own story. You feel me? So shout out to everyone who has supported. Our books go out tomorrow. Everyone who ordered theirs, like I said before Monday, will get a signed autograph by me. And y'all gonna get that scribble scratch. I don't want to hear it because You know, y'all complained last time about the. I'm gonna scribble scratch on your shit. I'm telling you right now, nigga. When you open it up, I got that scribble scratch in there on your ass. But we're gonna go one by one. I'm gonna put my gloves on tonight, and put my gloves on literally. And then you know we gonna sign every one book that participated. So shout out to y'all in a real way. Man, we want to get 100 of those, at least 100. You know, I feel like a real author then. Feel like the people love me. If we get 50, 100 of them bitches gone. Then I take note and let everybody know. Right now, it's maybe like 20 some people support it.
For anyone, particularly the British or those who were working on the island, forced labor, or those who were looking for opportunities, they had this proclamation read, and they actually invited people to kind of sign up. And so they signed up in droves, and they came to the Carolinas.
All right. So she's speaking about these migrations coming over from England to Barbados, right? Plus you had the Barbados population there. And now she's speaking about them leaving Barbados, coming over to America. Now, in 1627, Charles I signed charter to Duke of Carlisle, and they started their colony there. They bumped into some Jews that was hustling out of Brazil, and they put a play together. And together they was on some pirate shit, but they wanted to get control over the ports. And now the Spanish had certain areas there, so they're gonna come together and orchestrate a play to take out the Spanish and their indigenous counterpart, the Taínos, in that area. But let's walk.
The first expedition landed in Cape Fear, around the Wilmington area.
What Darv did? What OTK? Darv is in OTK. This is what y'all need to be watching right here. They about to talk about the Goose Creek. What Darv is in OTK is? They about to talk about the Goose Creek, man. So let's walk.
That didn't go too well. And later, the second try, the one that really actually took root, was the settlement that landed in Charleston, around where Charleston Landing is. But that is kind of a quick overview. The story is so dense and there's so many layers to it that it is hard to do it within a short period of time. So what I'm doing is I'm skimming the surface, and I'm just giving you some sort of connectivity so that you'd be able to understand the backdrop. It isn't full, it isn't a...
Time out, man. Support alert, support alert. Shout out to the homie Golf Coach Scalper. He just went and copped 4 of them hoes. He was the first person to cop a bundle of the black. I'm not black, I'm Indian. So shout out to the homie Scalp, man. Representing Mississippi, man. In that east side of Atlanta, man, in a real way. Appreciate you, family.
A whole lot. What we are talking about is tapping into your roots. So, the history is there. Some people don't like history.
I agree.
There is another part of that is now coming to the fore, genealogy. Ms. Gibbs, this is where you would come in. Genealogy.
DCU.
Genealogy and history are almost like opposite sides of a coin. Because when you look into someone's genealogy, you have to look back into history. Because our ancestors were alive and they were living and they were either working on Middleton Plantation or some other plantation. And so...
Hold on, mama, or running the damn plantation. See, you had me. I was rooting for you. And she a hell of a teacher. She a hell of a teacher. I love when the feminine energy teach. You know what I'm saying? Cause I'm a student of life. And now I love when the sisters bring wisdom, you know, and you know, I'm a student of life, so she a great teacher, and I like how she broke down genealogy and told them that they were somewhere in their story. Um, I think she could have edified on when she said the European migrations that came over into Barbados. I think she could have edified and told that they were, you know, why I say this. The same story she just told, BCU tells the same story, except we edify and we let people know that these are melanated people that are coming over to keep it into perspective. Now, I feel like she know that, you know, but it wasn't something that she wanted to highlight. She, you know, is coming still from an Afrocentric perspective. And so her genealogy was hold on, I want to rewind it. Man, y'all know I love me some genealogy, that bloodline shit, man. Somebody said run it back, Chief.
On Middleton Plantation or Miss Gibbs, this is where you would come in. Genealogy. Genealogy and history are almost like opposite sides of a coin, because when you look into someone's genealogy, you have to look back into history.
That's a bar. That's a bar. They go hand in hand. That's a bar. That's a t-shirt. But see, one thing that I learned, even when Yvette Cornett and them came out and they were screaming lineage, FBA was screaming lineage. A lot of people were saying genealogy, man, but it didn't have that same feel, man. You know? And so the queen is on point. But you have to find yourself in the story. I don't think they understood genealogy. They speaking on genealogy in its definition and not in its spiritual. Come on, somebody. Come on, somebody. Now they speaking on it in the form of its definition. Nah, man, when it's meant to be practiced as a spiritual system. And I think BCU will, you know, the way we brought it was spiritual system. And that's why it resonates. Because a lot of people say it, but when we say it, it taps right in. You know what I mean? Nah, man, in a real way.
Because our ancestors were alive and they were living and they were either working on.
Sister Carol, you missed it. We was in here dancing earlier. And you just now coming in here. We was in here. Hold on, time out. Sister Carol, we was in here having a good time. And then you still play. Who is that? They said, Top Cat, you better not play Tree's favorite song. Nah, we ain't gonna play Tree's favorite song. I just want to let Sister Carol know she late. And while she coming in here late, we was in here getting busy earlier. Somebody said, don't play that Juvie song. Nah, that's Tree's song. And we didn't know that. Tell it on yourself. We thought you was a Southern Belle. Yes, Sister Carol, we was in here doing something like this here. Hey, let's get on that like button. Come on. Sister Carol, you don't know nothing about that. You don't know nothing about that. You can't get them feet off the ground like that. You can't keep up, Sister Carol. You ain't ready. This before your time, woman. Yeah, Sister Carrie, we had something like that going on in here a little earlier. You know, the Indians, we gonna cut a rug. All we need is a little space. We gonna cut a rug.
Middleton Plantation or some other plantation. And so history is important as a backdrop to understand our genealogy. So what I want us to do, let's approach this from this point. History tells a big story, but you have a story, I have a story. And we know very well that as the story was told, the colonial powers, the planters and those people, they actually are the ones who were noted. But our ancestors, they weren't noted. They were considered in many instances as beasts of burden. They were.
Tweety, we looking right at your ass. Talking about that, can't anybody, we looking right at your ass. Put some clothes on too, because your damn FaceTime on. Here you gonna come in here in the bubble bath with candle lit. Talking about am I blocked? When we looking at your ass. Yeah, put some clothes on for they flag my channel.
For the labor force.
We looking at you.
So on a given plantation, what they were supposed to do is to do the work, and from sunup to sundown, they had to suffer a lot of the hardship. But they were silent. They were faceless. And today we are finding out. So what I want us to do, I want you to use your mind and come take a little journey with me. Because what we want to do is, as we go through here tapping into our roots, we are doing what our ancestors probably can't or couldn't do. We are going to invade the space of the plantations. And we are going to find out, we're going to see what we can find out about those families and the relationships they had with the enslaved people. And what I want us to do mentally is to own that space. Yes, you don't have a plantation. You don't have something erected in your honor, but your ancestors occupied and worked in the spaces of plantations everywhere, both in Barbados and the Carolinas. And it is somewhat empowering if in our generation, we can go back and we can claim our ancestors' space and learn things that we never knew. And they can pretty much further inspire us in 2020 or 2019 in our time, in our generation. So let's kind of go on this trip. One of the things I want us to know is that when the settlers came from Barbados, and there were many, I'm going to kind of rush through this because, gosh, I don't have a whole lot, so I'm going to kind of pretty much go through it quickly. What the planters learned and transplanted here to the Carolinas. It became the infrastructure for society, for the society that developed here. So anywhere, everywhere you go in South Carolina, when you look at the architecture, that architecture reflects connections to Barbados. When you look at the art, that art reflects that connection, shared influences. The people, yes, they were the British, they were the indentured servants, and we'll go through this quickly. And then they were the African enslaved people. They were all part of that big history. They were part of the history. And they were making that history just as much as the colonial powers were. Without the enslaved people.
Welcome to Double Dome, where we unlock your website.
Without the Indians, right? She a good teacher, but she needs to drop some of that real BCU, sprinkle that BCU in there.
We'd be talking about a different.
I almost got it right, because you put the European there, you ain't make them black though, and we making this an African story. Let's walk.
Role and the place they occupied in that developing society, the settlement, was as vital as that of the big colonists, the merchants and the traders. So in a general way, the people, we can talk about that. Any and each one of these can take a whole lesson or whole discourse. But yes, when we talk about food, we talk about fashion, we talk about music, we talk about religion, we talk about the government, we talk about the plantation.
Hold on, Mama. Daylo B said, I want to know more about the piracy. Man, I'll come in here and break that down. We got some good game on the piracy, which play a real important part to the story, because it's international commerce. Even in this story that she's speaking of, what's going to be the most important part of it is the Port Royale. All right, because that's going to be their connection. That from Barbados, they're going to go to Jamaica and South Carolina, and that's going to lock their connection in right there. Both ports are called Port Royale. The ports are going to be real. And so the activity, who's coming in, who's around it, who the ops, because niggas jacket, because you got South Carolina right here, which is Protestant friendly, and then right down the street you got them jackers in Florida, Cuba, running all that, Jack boys. So you got to get from South Carolina to wherever you on the way to, and you got to worry about these niggas climbing on the ship. You feel me? Nah, real talk. So yeah, we'll get into the pirates, man. The pirates of the Caribbean, the pirates of America, pirates of the Mississippi, Louisiana, Galveston, Texas. Yeah, we're gonna work. What's up with the Northern Bill? Big Dog Philly in the building, Bun and Digit, as I say, your family. Turn that one time. I appreciate that support. 2 more people bought the book, man. Yeah, so we're trying to get to 100, man. Right now we're probably at like 30. So we need to try to get 70 more. And at least by the end of the week.
Yes, the politics, the economy, the trade, the laws, the trades, yes, and the military aspect of maintaining these new settlements, and piracy. And one of the things that I didn't put on this when I did it several years ago was genealogy. So let's walk through quickly. Tapping into your roots. So here what we are doing. We are invading the spaces of the planters. And we are trying to find out things that were never passed on to us. We are trying to kind of recoup our identity it was stripped in many ways. We were.
Hey, the link for the book, Bean, if you go up a couple, the link, or go up a couple, the book is if you'll see Lolita, she actually has a link in there. So yeah, if you scroll up a couple, just a few over your head, a few people over your head, the link to the book is right there. We got bundle deals and everything. We're trying to get to 100 by the end of the week.
Perceived as only beast of burden. And I say we because I'm a descendant also of ancestors who were enslaved. So here we go. Are you thinking? Are you going with me on the journey? Let's move through it quickly.
Let's walk.
Okay.
Let's walk.
I've already captured some of that for you. The British settlers that settled in Barbados in 1627, the workforce, indentured servants, and I explained who they were, enslaved Africans, and the Native American tribes. Now, let me stop here and kind of give you a little bit of backdrop on this. When the British settled Barbados, they didn't find any native people there because they had already moved on. But do you know, during the
See, they're going to write us out the story. When they got there, when nobody there, automatically they write us out the story, right? So the African going to take our place.
The development of Barbados, when Barbados became so big and became so prosperous, some of those who were brought or who came to the Carolinas enslaved people along the eastern coast, some of the native tribes, and took them back to Barbados. So here you have that cross-pollination. That's a bit of history that was actually documented. So we can talk about that another time. So they were taking enslaved people from along the western coast, the Atlantic coast, and taking them to Barbados, those British settlers. Okay, so a similar thing. When they say that Barbados is a colony of a colony, when they say that Barbados was the culture hearth of the Western Hemisphere, when they say that the relationship between Barbados and Carolina was so tightly woven together, it's because the same pattern, whatever was done in Barbados and pretty much succeeded, it was implemented here in the Carolinas. So you have a similar scenario playing out. 1627 in Barbados, Barbados is settled, sugar became supreme. It made the British extremely rich, and it gave the Barbadian settlers, the planters, a lot of clout. They were able to call the shots in many, many respects in England because they were pouring so much money into the British coffers that the British government, the parliament, listened to them. And in 1670, when they came here, whatever worked in Barbados, they transplanted. And so the system became so similar that many historians look back on it and say that the Carolinas resembled more a Caribbean colony than any of the colonies that were on the mainland, like those up north. The people. We're going to focus a little bit on the people because the people are very important. So here come and meet some of the people who we are talking about. Do you know the Ashley and the Cooper rivers? They are dominant here in the South, in this area.
Do we have some South
Everything
Carolina?
is measured in terms of the Ashley.
South Carolina, where you at? We got some South Carolina in the building, man. Drop them area codes, man. What's South Carolina at, man? We in South Carolina with it tonight, man. And this lady, she's an excellent teacher, you know. She needs some of that BCU drip, and she'll get it right. Now, she lined it up on the board. Now, she got all the key players there, and she's speaking about genealogy, but she's not bringing a solution to it's all generalized. You know, is when we speak in genealogy, but we're not speaking directly. And so now, you know, it's still falling to a generalization. And now we don't want to do that. But let's walk.
And the Cooper. Well,
South
Sir
Carolina.
Anthony
Yeah.
Cooper was one of the proprietors. They had 8 proprietors, and they were the speculators. Those were the ones who were looking for land and who were exploring land. Sir Anthony Cooper was the youngster. Sir John Colleton was the old man. He was the head of the syndicate, let's call him. He was the one who thought up, land is running scarce in Barbados. They'd moved to some of the other islands and fought against the Spanish for dominance. Barbados settled, they settled Barbados in 1625, and the English stayed there. Even though the other colonial powers were fighting for colonies and for islands, Barbados was protected because of where it was situated geographically. And so,
hey, y'all, let's get the likes up. Let's get the likes up, family. Tomorrow, Mexico meeting, BCU, 7 p.m. Central Time. That'll be the last time. If you need to speak with us about anything, if you need a little more time, if you're trying to make it, if you're on the fence, if you're trying to get some things worked out so you can make it there, tomorrow will be the day to let us know. We can speak about it in private and everything. So, but you will have to be at the meeting to do so. The meeting will be held on Zoom. So we may go live tomorrow at that time to get the people, you know, let everybody know. We meet up in the parking lot and then we pull up together. If you're serious about going to Mexico, man, serious about making history. Yes, it has been done before, but not in this time. You know, we are the light bearers right now, and so many are called, few chosen. Man, don't miss out on this opportunity of a lifetime to make history. You feel me? And to you know, come down there, let's honor our ancestors, man, and show the world that we ain't went nowhere. We still here in a real way and ain't going nowhere. And it's our time to shine.
System that was transportable to other Caribbean islands. Now, I had mentioned earlier that people usually say, well, you came from Jamaica. Well, Barbados was settled in 1627. Right. Jamaica became English in 1655, and it was taken back from the Spanish. So Jamaica was much bigger, but Barbados was the hub. That was the center where people moved to other islands. So we talked a little bit about Anthony Cooper. Anthony Cooper's family had ties to plantations in Barbados. So Anthony Cooper, I think it was his maternal side, but to be specific, don't bank on that. He did have familial ties to Barbados. Thomas and Anne Drayton. Who knows Drayton Hall? Everybody knows Drayton Hall. I mean, that's one of the places that people go. The Draytons had plantation in Barbados. There are Draytons in Barbados. Many of them are of African descent. Now we can get off on a tangent and
now we'll have to see some proof of that, mama. Sound like the Draytons are European. Black European, mama. Come on now, we're not gonna do that. Don't make us go grab these Draytons up. Thomas and Ann Drayton out of Africa. Don't make us go dig them up.
And develop. Why is that so? But Drayton, the plantation that they had in Barbados.
Shout out to Sister Renee Tweety. just went and caught her a 4-pack, a bundle deal of the I'm Not Black, I'm Indian. All right, we getting up there. What's that? 10 copies? That's 10 copies sold right there. So what, we went from 30 to 40. We trying to knock down 60 more by the end of the week. We need 60 more copies gone by the end of the week.
Was part of a bigger network of plantations owned by a gentleman called Lascelles. And Drayton had a small plantation. Now, all of the plantations in Barbados weren't huge. What we found out as sugar became more dominant and they needed more land, the big planters bought out the smaller planters, and they pretty much enlarged their holdings, and the smaller planters were left then to kind of, do as much as they can. But they couldn't do much because they didn't have much land. But Drayton would have been one of those smaller planters. He wasn't one of the big planters. Okay, John Colleton.
See, this is not an African story. You have to understand, it's rules to the business. These families, these names, okay, Middleton them. These names, they're going to come out of the revolts or the civil wars that's taking place in England. And so a lot of them are leaving at this time. So when you get to Middleton and you have one of the largest plantations in South Carolina, well, you look to Barbados, you look to Jamaica, they have those there as well. But you also find them back in Europe. And so it's important when we're connecting the bloodlines, and I already did, that's old school work, and showed that the Middletons were, in fact, melanated people, without a shadow of a doubt. And they were large plantation owners there. But they were of royal lineage. And they had ties to the king and the queen, so the royal courts, I'll say. And so let's walk and talk.
We have Colleton County, and here, if you go back to Barbados, there's still some of the Colleton plantations which have been repurposed, reused. One of the major ones is a super duper high-end hotel. Everybody can go there. I mean, it's that super. But there were about 5 of them in Barbados. Their plantations, some are still there. Some of them are 1 or 2 still in disrepair. But those are evidences of the connection. Robert Gibbs and Miss Gibbs, it's interesting because if you go back to Barbados, there's a whole community, a seaside community called Gibbs St. Peter's. And they still have a great house there. But what about Robert Gibbs? When he came to Charleston, he was one of the leading founders. His impact on the settlement of the Carolinas was so great that today, if you were to go down to Washington Park, right by City Hall, right behind the Historical Society, there is a plaque in the corner that is designated to the Mr. Robert Gibbs, Barbadian. It's there. And so when we look at his history in the Carolinas, he was one of those fierce people. Their concept of how to govern and the tools that they used to govern were very, very harsh. But here is a connection to the Gibbs. And then we also have the Gibbs Museum. So,
hey, these surnames are all over South Carolina, the Southeast. Some migrated Midwest, some went up north. Because a lot of them, also, Philadelphia, Maryland, that area there, was Protestant friendly too, as well. So they had trade, and that's why a lot of the indigenous service they got off in South Carolina, a lot of them end up going into Pennsylvania, Maryland, things of that nature.
So that's another link that people probably overlook. John Ladson, who knows of Ladson? right up here, Ladson. John Ladson actually came from Barbados. They were English people, yes. But back then, to say you were Barbadian, man, that meant that you were sitting good, because this was voiced abroad to be as rich as a West Indian planter. That meant that you were where the money was, and you were where things were happening. So John Ladson, he probably didn't have much land in Barbados, could very well have been a small planter. But when he came to the Carolinas, he
in Barbados, he was rock for rock. Ended up getting out there, man. He had a play together, man, and nigga was getting Boston, Georgia, and Diego money, trying to stack it all up like his Lego money.
Actually has a whole community named after him. And I look back at some of his deeds and so forth, and he had at one time 1,200 slaves. That's the kind of situation that developed. Edward and Arthur Middleton, they were brothers. They owned a plantation in Barbados also. And that plantation is very, very important, because now scholars are going back and they're finding some very interesting things that they didn't know before about the enslaved community. The plantation in Barbados is in a parish called St. George. And the name of the parish, or the name of the plantation, was called the Mount. I was born in Barbados. I grew up some in Barbados, but I never knew of that. But I went back recently, and one of our tour guides took us to
This season, Vistaprint has everything you need to create.
on that planet.
Yeah, let's stay on them likes. Let's get over 200 likes.
Community around the plantation, which they call like tenant trees. So people would work on the plantation and they would live in these communities. But what happened is that you had people now going back, scholars, looking for how did the enslaved people live? What occurred there? And a lot of the place has not been disturbed. One of the things that they found out was the Middletons, the Middletons who actually traveled and came here, they were experimenting with the architecture. What sort of architecture really should be in this hot place? Because when we first came to Barbados, one of the major plantations that still exists called Nicholas Abbey, and you would see a big chimney. It's almost like a chimney in Barbados, but they were borrowing from what they knew, the Georgian type of architecture. So here you have the Middletons, and there's more to it, but I can't give that to you right now. But the Middletons, and what we have here, the Middletons own some of the plantations in this Goose Creek area. We have the oaks and the crowfield and all of those. Those are the plantations that some of the Middletons from Barbados owned. Yes, we know of Middleton Place, but this was just so immense. Another character that stands out, and he reaches in this area, John Yeaman. Who knows Yeaman Hall Road? Okay, you know Yeaman Hall Road? Okay, that's a gated community. You can't go up in there unless somebody invites you, right? John Yeaman owned one of the plantations that still exists in Barbados that is called Nicholas Abbey. That plantation is there. And John Yeaman became one of the first governors of South Carolina. More history to that, but I'm going to speed on. I'm setting a picture for you that the connection between Barbados and the Caribbean was just immense. It was immense. They were linked together in so many areas. All of those influences were linked. From Antigua, one of the other islands, we had the Picneys, Eliza Pickney and the Indigo.
What OTK them at? Where is OTK? Where is Darvis? They're talking about your kinfolk and them up here, man. Where's OTK and where's Darvis? They're talking. We in Goose Creek. Where the Goose Creek fam at, man? I need my Goose Creek brothers in the building. Hey, down there's a link to the VIP platinum membership. You do get a free book, free copy. I'm Not Black, I'm Indian. If you purchase a platinum pack, which gets you in all of the lectures, and it gives you hundreds of hours of lectures by me. So if you cop that, you get a free book with it. Let's walk.
That's a connection with a family from Jamaica in the Johns Island area. There's Fenwick Hall. He came from Jamaica. Have you heard of Parkers and the Hayes? They came from both Barbados and Jamaica. The people, these are the people who owned the properties. We look back now and they're just names, but ancestors and our ancestors were part of this whole development. And it's interesting now, as we do research, if you want to find out your genealogy, one of the things that you need to find out, which plantation did your ancestors live?
And see here how we do the genealogy, and this is a proof, right? That when we're talking about history, you have to find yourself in the story. This is why it's important to find yourself in the story. When you're talking about history, your ancestors lived. Right here is proof. Right here, y'all are looking at the pygmies. Today, there's a brother by the name of OTK who comes here. So when we look back in history, they're talking about his family right now. It's the 1700s. And today in 2023, we know one of the descendants of this guy that they're talking about right here. This is how important genealogy is. This is how important finding yourself in the story is. This is not about who knows the most history. Fuck that. That don't get you nowhere. Where do you connect in history? So right now, I mean, this is a primary, because right here we have a family called the Pygmies. Oh, history fake. Oh, we don't believe that. Well, today their descendants are here today. When you see Darvis, Blaylock, and you see OTK, that's their family. That, God damn it, you say the devil name, he appear. You say the devil name and he appear. OTK in the building, man. OTK, man, you're a primary source. Right here, this is why it's so important, man. Because we can look up here and we can see this family, the Pygmies. And today we can see the descendants. So all of these people that are spoken about in history, that's why genealogy is the number one, to find yourself in the story. Because if you were here, I mean, those people have descendants. Their descendants are alive today. You could be one of them. Find yourself in the story. So shout out to the homie OTK, man, because this is a primary right here. Because in history, they're speaking about his family. This 1700s, and we look up in 2023, and we know the descendants of the history, the subject that's taking place right now. That's how this genealogy works, not in a form of generalization. We have to be able to see ourselves in the. I don't want to hear nothing about all of that history, if you cannot show us how you connect to it. Because the history there. So when we know that the history is there, then we know that genealogy is there. Because when we're talking about history, we're talking about people. Okay? And if those people lived at that time, well, their descendants live in this time. Who are you in the story, homeboy? Everybody running around here trying to show how smart they are. Talking about shit that don't mean nothing. Ain't gonna get us nowhere. Say, man, this is a solo dolo journey. We're just all here to take the journey together. Everyone has their own sheet of paper. You can't copy. unless you come from the same mother and father. Everyone has their own book to write, and it's the greatest story ever told, the book of you. And this is how you find in the story. You can't be sitting here talking about history, all this fucking history, and you don't even know where you at in the history, because you're talking about people, you're talking about things, you're talking about events. Well, in those events, in that time, guess what? Who had to be there? People. And if there were people there, then their descendants are here today. And brother OTK is a testimony, primary source today. So shout out to OTK, man. We had to. This was a teaching moment, and so hopefully we broke it down to people how important genealogy is. And there's never no, I've done my genealogy, I'm moving on to a next level. There's no level higher than genealogy. Check. There's no level higher than genealogy. You can't have more history than you have genealogy. Nah, man, the genealogy and the history go hand in hand. What did this lovely sister say? She said, when you do genealogy, you're going into history. You have to go back into history. Bars. So the history and the genealogy going together. So if you want to tell us history, then you have to have the genealogy part. If you missing the genealogy part and you just got the history, then now you ain't done with genealogy and you got more information than genealogy. Nah, that's not how that works. Ain't no balance in that. We're gonna have to find ourselves in the story. It's a marathon, and we chose to walk it together. Ain't no Bible gonna tell you none of this shit. Ain't no temple gonna tell you, and ain't no disrespect to nobody what they repping. But these things, all of this putting anything before genealogy, I don't listen to me, man. You trying to do history when you're not understanding that genealogy has to be the foundation of that history, because you're going to have to tie yourself in it. We don't want to hear about all these pharaohs and all of these African kings and these African slaves and these famous abolitionists. We don't want to hear about that shit, nigga, because what you're doing is you're confirming that there's people, that this conversation is about people. So I don't want to hear that shit. You're confirming that this conversation is about people, which means these people had to live at some period of time, which means that their descendants have to be here today. So all of these niggas with a microphone in their hand, all these scholars, all these niggas that know everything, what you need to understand is history and genealogy go side by side, and it's a cross-reference. And while you're speaking on the history, you need to be cross-referencing and showing us where you are in the story. And that's why a nigga light years ahead of you niggas.
That's one of the places you have to go. From here, if you want to know what the connection is, you have to start from the present and work your way back to the past. And you will get to a place. Where did my great-great-grandmother, which plantation did she serve on? Or were they enslaved? Who enslaved them? You see the connections of the names? You have to go back. And
who enslaved them here, or who they enslaved? How about that one? I'm who they, not which plantation you was on, like you was just a slave. No. Well, that ain't the only question. You can ask that question, but you also need to be asking the question, who did they enslave?
Go places where your ancestors, they were happy to get away from. They didn't want to get back. They were happy when they escaped that. But today, if you want to find out your genealogy, you have to go back those places. And what you have to go back? Stick your chest out. And go back, not ashamed, but taking the moment and going and finding out and confronting that situation and learning about that situation, learning what happened. You are seizing the moment today. And I know, and I've heard many people of African descent in this area, oh, I don't want to go to a plantation. I don't want to hear about plantations. I could understand the pain that is wrapped up in that. I could understand why not. But you know what? I can also understand if you throw your chest out, and you go back, and you invade those spaces, and you claim those spaces in the name of your ancestors, you have overcome mentally. And it's something we have to do. Let's move on. The Goose Creek men. Now, these are some winners. The Goose Creek men, all of this area was named after a group, a big group, a syndicate of men who actually set the stage for the development of the societal Carolina. And what they learned in Barbados, that is what they have reproduced here. So all of these areas, they had big plantations along the Ashley, but they had plantations here. These were like their country homes. So you come up the Ashley, and yes, there are certain, the big major plantations, Drayton Hall, Magnolia, and Middleton along the Ashley. But then all the way up here, up inland, you have their country homes. And we listed some of the plantations that you would find. All of them, I asked a question.
Step into WIC studio.
Let's walk.
Where did they come from? Many of them came from Barbados. Not all of them came from Barbados. Some of them came from some of the other British Caribbean islands. But because Barbados was the hub, it was the headquarters of the British, particularly as it dealt with agricultural society, plantations, and work on the plantations, and dividing up into gangs or into the groupings to carry out the work. So these people would have come from different places. The Bahamas was part of that exchange because at a certain point you had people from here being sent to the Bahamas. So the impact that they had on the Carolina was profound, and we still see and feel some of the aspects of it. They had that much power in the new settlement because they had experience. Once they had established colonies in the Caribbean, and in particular as Barbados as the headquarters, they knew it all. So when they came here, nobody could tell them anything. And they became arrogant. They became very, very self-assured. And they created a whole lot of disturbances. The former mayor of Goose Creek wrote 2 volumes called Goose Creek. It is a resource book. Goose Creek, A Definitive History. And everywhere in this, it's a whole chronicle of the Barbadians who settled and the influence that they had. Now, I always picture this because it is astounding, it's mind-boggling. Barbados, 166 square miles. These planters, when they came and they landed in the Carolinas, when they looked around, all they saw was land. I mean, it was mesmerizing, I could imagine. And so they started getting lots of this land because they were those who aligned themselves with the plantation owner, with the king. They were they were recompensed for their allegiance and their alliances. And so they actually got land grants. Now, what these land grants were, hundreds and thousands of acres. There were certain specified guidelines, but these people, the Goose Creek men and all those who settled, got so much land that they didn't know what to do with it. And when they came and they found out that, gosh, sugar wouldn't do too good here. It's temperate. What else should we try? Then they found out rice. And so when they came in 1670, they experimented with other crops. But it was when they realized that rice will be the crop, or rice will be the sugar that Barbados had, then they started getting people en masse from West Africa.
All right. So when the Goose Creek arrived, at the time of their arrival, you had wars break out with the Stone Nose lady that become grouped in with the Cassava Indians. They're going to be the nations who are down in the port of Charleston and around that area who do trade. You also had the Yamasi, this confederation, who was being hunted by the what would be called the Westos. They were slave raiders. And you had the people coming up with the Spanish with the Spanish interests out of Florida. So the Yamasi are going to align themselves with the Goose Creek. Goose Creek ain't just come in. Now, they were allotted a lot of land. That's true. Now, as far as the cultivation of rice, at that time, the indigenous people in the Carolinas grew 5 different types of rice. It was 5 different types of rice that grew there already. Now, their trade in indigo, and also their interest in deer skin, their alliance, which was a international one, they allied with the Yamasi. And that's when the Yamasi would in turn become slave raiders themselves. And that's what made the Goose Creek powerful, and for them to hold their position. And they dealt in piracy, so they weren't scared to bust their pistol neither. And that was the true connection between them. As far as the African, that's not true. They were already growing the rice there. You had the sweetgrass baskets already there. Like I said, the Stone Nose, you're going to 1702, 1701, 1703, you'll have the Queen Anne Wars. Now, these wars take place down in Port Royal, South Carolina, also Florida. And you're leading to the Tuscarora War that was 1711 to 13, leading to 1715 Yamasi War. Goose Creek men have their hand in it, let's say. But they're alliant, they're going to, and they're a very powerful nation, confederacy, this Yamasi. And they're gonna align with the Goose Creek, and that's where they're gonna get their power from. And together they'll run an enterprise, an international enterprise.
So note those years of differences. The blacks that they brought with them at first were from Barbados and the Caribbean. So that provides backdrop for some of the the research that you would do when you're doing your genealogy. But then the Gullah Geechee people who were shipped in mass, it would have been like in the 1710, 1720 area, when rice became the commodity that they were looking at as bringing in the kind of money to make them rich, that made South Carolina very rich. It was then that they started bringing in, again from the same region of Africa, people to work on the plantation societies here, this time with rice. And early o'clock, just like in Barbados, when they started getting the enslaved people, they actually found out that the numbers increased and that the blacks outnumbered the whites. And the same thing here in South Carolina. Your genealogy, I hope you'd be able to reflect and go back at some of the backdrops that I've just given you. Couldn't go into details on it. You look at plantations, and you look at the owners, you look at the parishes, and you look at the counties. Surnames, very important. The historic events, dates of wars and censuses. Those are the things that you look for in tapping into your roots. And always, always, always start in the present and move to the past. And our Gullah Geechee Heritage Commission has
This is the most expensive phone number in the world, and I own.
Well, we have a chapter in the book, chapter 13, speaking the making of African Gullah Geechee. I'm not black, I'm Indian. Chapter 13, dedicated to the Gullah Geechee, the making of the African Gullah Geechee.
I've gone over, but I hope I've painted a picture for you. Take away from what I've said. When you have to do your research, remember that your ancestors occupied the spaces of those plantations. And even though you don't have monuments and plantations that have your names on it, your ancestors occupied those spaces. So go in boldly and reclaim some of what was lost during that period.
I just want to say one thing in 2 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be too hurt or taken back if you see a name, like for example, that's what you saw Gibson's, GIWS. That does not mean that your ancestors were not GIWS. Because it's like what's in a name, sometimes you see brown with the E, with the E or without the E. And what has happened that back in those days, the E didn't make a difference, nor the S. But now it makes a difference because we've come a long way. But many of our ancestors carry a name without the S or a name with the E. So if you come up to Barbados, if you want to go to the archives, you're free to come to the archives and do all the research. And you can go right through the names that you have and you can follow it because it takes a lot of recording.
That's right. Thank you, CG. Questions, yes? I have more time? Well, you know you shouldn't tell me that. Well, I'm going to open this up for questions because sometimes you learn a whole lot more by the questions that you have. So I'm going to let you ask questions, and I'm going to answer if the CG or if Robert, my husband, have an answer. Let this be question and answer time. And I hope you ask some questions because that's how you learn or you get a better understanding of the connections. Yes, Miss.
Could you give an example of where people might go downtown or maybe speak to some examples of a similar
I can answer that one quickly for you. If you come to Barbados, when you come back, you will be amazed. Yesterday, I drove in with this family here with my early cousin and husband. I mean, there was going down a street that I saw a very old house, unpainted, with an old little patio. I thought that actually they lifted that from Barbados. All the wooden houses, the shapes of the houses. It's like Barbados has been imported or exported from Barbados and imported to South Carolina. The architecture, the shape of the houses, I mean, it's unbelievable. The fact that we use even more wood in Barbados is called the chattel house. Here, and the chattel simply meant that it could have been moved, especially back in the days of the slaves where they were moving from plantation to plantation. But the houses are all almost similar shapes, the sizes. You have some bigger ones because you guys have more money than we have down there. But that's where it is. The architecture is just almost Barbados.
And as far as it pertains to the Goose Creek area, one of the things that we know, Goose Creek would have been the rural part of the settlement. So you would see the similarities in the big, great houses, the plantation houses, let's say like Crowfield and the Oaks and what have you. I mean, some of them are demolished at this point, but you would see some of the architectural features. One of the things that you would find that was prominent in Barbados, like the jealousies, that was something where you can raise the jealousies or you can lower the jealousies. You know, the veranda or the porches, those were features. So you would find them here in the, you know, the wealthier or the houses that people had more money. And the way they protected themselves, even in some of the churches. We have St. James Parish in Barbados, and we have an Anglican church called the St. James Anglican Church. Here in the Goose Creek area you have St. James Anglican Church also. You look at the graveyards and you see some of the similar names, but we went inside of that. That's not open for worship all the time, but some of the way the pews and the set. The interesting thing about the British, they didn't reinvent the wheel every time they went to a new place. What they did, they transported and they left their names as signatures to the fact that they were there. So hundreds of years after, you can still see an English name. That's why these names live on, because it says the English were here.
If you come to Barbados, there's a place called Gunhead. Right, there's a big, you can probably Google it on the internet. A big stone lion. And that lion is there 300 years, and the English have left all the names of the lions who were around that time. It's still there. They have left a mark there.
Yes, ma'am?
You had a source this slide just about how we can remove the plantation, surveys, to really track our genealogy, but of course, a lot of these people didn't really have written history all the time.
Hey, I want to give a shout out to the homie Freeman for copying the book, supporting. Shout out to the homie Danny for supporting, copying the book. Shout out to Gulf Coast Scalper for copying the bundle. And shout out to our sister Tweety for copying the bundle. Appreciate their support.
So are there sort of oral histories and other sources that weren't written down that we can use to help track the genealogies?
Well, you know, it's
She Hoisted pulling the building. Yeah, we in Charleston tonight, She Hoisted. We in Charleston under the moon. Eating Cheez-Its like old girl down in Birmingham, Alabama.
unfortunate, and this was something that I can tell you from Barbados. The older
We eating Cheez-Its like Carly Russell. Painting our nails and shit, getting your nails painted under the moonlight.
people didn't like to talk, so they didn't share a lot of information. That is something new that has evolved, where people are now talk to your grandparents and talk to cousins. So yes, there is a lack of information in terms of even some of the oral stories. Some people did a good job in passing on the stories, but just as for the utility of running this society, you look back at military records, you look back at some of those sorts of governmental types of documents where they were, you can get a lot of information there. So you look and you see, okay, this plantation was owned by this person, and how many people he had on the plantation, what are the names? So it's a bit more tedious, but in terms of making the links, if you have oral stories that your ancestors told and handed down, and you know, Tony Carrier knows a whole lot more about that. That's an area that I'm not that familiar with. But yes, oral stories are important, and we probably have that vacuum. But there are ways to kind of get beyond that.
This is something that we encounter also. I think 2 years ago we were in Barbados and Genealogy conference, and this genealogist at that time, she would get the people to go to the phone book after the lecture and find out the names and call and do connections. Well, this lady that was with us, all with the group, they went and called this family, and
in
said,
Barbados,
sure, come, you know, and you talk. Found out that they were first cousins, or that the guy that was, she was living there, was married to this lady, and
All right. Appreciate everybody, man. Pulling up, rocking that. Mexico, working like a Mexico. Nubu son, I'm moving on to Ferragamo. A party with the real Madonna. Beat the odds and remain humble. Job side portions, I'm so used to this. Smoking out the pine, I'm so used to this. Car flooded my watch and I got mansion in the hills, yeah, we used to this. A couple weeks out, baby. Got my outfits coming, the new DCU shirts coming, DCU hoodies coming this weekend. No, not this weekend, my bad. Next month. DCU hoodies. Yeah, I'm ready. Mexico, working like it, Mexico. New son, I'm very gonna beat the odds, the numbers, and remain humble. Job, I told you this. Alright, so man. So we hop out the plane, man. This weekend have to come to. It ain't that crowded. It was a long wait. I'd say like I don't think the club's gonna really be turned. Had to go take this shit. That shit there hustle, man. What's crazy is when they can come see you. But, you know, I gotta go tap in the jungle. Alright. About to come down here, man, to get a COVID test. Kind of calm down, boys. You know, the mask situation. Like hotels and it's going down. Meet me at the club. It's going down. You know it's going down. Tree say, see, Horsted, we need y'all to go ahead and game plan the BCU trip to Charleston. I think we do need to come down to Charleston, man. Charleston calling our name. Now we have to go down to Charleston. Hey, y'all, make sure we get over 200 likes. I can't see the joint down there. But if y'all could and if y'all would, make sure that we get over 200. She Horsted, that can happen. I can see that happening. Sister Kara said, "Yep." So that means if we go to Charleston, Sister Kara, you coming? Where you at? What state you in, Sister Kara? What state you in, Mom? Hey, the chat, y'all let me know. How many people in here? 197. Y'all let us know. Do Charleston sound like a move? Do y'all want to go down to Charleston? OTK advertising the food. OTK said they got some seafood restaurants called Gilly. I'm gonna have to look that up. Gilly, I never heard of them. Dear, have you ever had Gilly? Let me try to look them up. Yeah, wait a minute, wait a second. I'm looking. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. You're gonna have to send them to me. I can't find them. They ain't come right up when I look. They ain't come right up when I look. So we're gonna have to figure it out. Yeah, so we're gonna have to figure that out. We're gonna get it right though. But yeah, Charleston, I mean, we talk about it too much. We have to go to Charleston. It have to be the right time though. You know, it's gonna have to be the right time. Sister Kara say, if I come, she said, I'll come if I can at the time and y'all plan it. Okay. Best soul food restaurants and sweet tea. Uh-oh. Indian Red said Oklahoma. Indian Red, you popping out to any events next year? We're gonna have a calendar. We're gonna have a calendar at the end of the year. Yeah, we're gonna have a calendar at the end of the year. So, okay, GA South Carolina. Yeah, we're gonna make that happen. So at the beginning of the year, we'll have our calendar. And it'll have all our dates on it. And so y'all need to take our work. Y'all need to know what days y'all need to tell them folk. Hey, I ain't gonna be able to make it. I ain't gonna be able to make it. Shout out to the homie Damon for supporting and purchasing the book. Actually got 2 books. So shout out to the homie D. Yeah, Charleston have a lot of history. That's why I say, hey, Darvis, we was just in here with a Goose Creek bill. We just had a lady doing a lecture on yeah, you see that nigga see Horsted? Look at Darvis. He say, y'all talking about my side of town. Yeah, we just went through Goose Creek. Right now, though, we try to see what you niggas hospitality like. Yeah, right now we trying to see if you niggas got some hospitality. because we thinking about making a move down there to Charleston. We thinking about making a move to Charleston, Darvis, and we need to make sure, we need to see what y'all hospitality like. You know, the accommodations. Sound like a good move, man. I want to go. I really do. And, you know, my connection with South Carolina, you know, I guess that's why, you know, it's like it's somewhere that I have to go. You feel me? So whenever y'all figure out what can happen and if it can happen and how it can happen, and let us know, and we'll try to fit it in the schedule, man. Next year, I will we'll just put it on the Southeast list, and it may be Charleston, South Carolina. That what it look like. Man, I'm telling you, that what it look like. OTK Dosey say she want a care package when she come to Charleston. Did say Charleston need that BCU energy. We need that. We need to pop out and show out. If the hospitality right, and you know Charleston, they use Charleston. Man, get your motherfucking ass out of my way, Spider-Man. This nigga wasn't even ready. He had to suit it up, trying to nigga get out of my way, Spider-Man. Fuck out my way. Dosey says the weed good. It's actually a good question. Dosey say, is the weed and the shrooms good down there? Darvis and OTK. Dosey says the weed, and also is the shrooms good down there? Tweety say y'all can have the weed and the shrooms. She just want the food. She heard y'all can cook down there. Well, like I say, y'all put it together. We gonna make it happen. Darvis say just come and I got you. That don't sound too confident. Just coming, I got you. I don't know, nigga. I don't feel that secure. That don't sound that secure. You might not answer your phone when nigga get down there. Nigga hit you with a just come on through, come on by, nigga. I got you. I don't know. I ain't secure. That wasn't good enough. Nah, I never had a pink toe lint. A pink toe in it. Nah, I ain't never heard of the pink toe. What's the pink toe? They got something down there called pink toe. They trying to hook me on. I don't know. I wonder, can I Google it? Nah, I ain't never heard of the pink toe. See, Horsehead said it's good. Okay, so pink toe good. Well, when I get down there here, y'all gotta show me where the pink toes at. Long as that ain't no setup question. Basket weaving. Oh, you know, I'm gonna cop me a basket. Yeah, y'all gotta take me to the island the one where they got the best basket weaving, the original. Yeah, I want to go there. Tweety say, are the edibles good? Tweety want to know, are the edibles worth it? Yeah, she want an edible. Just to calm her nerves, you know. Just to calm her nerves, little edible, ain't never hurt nobody. Little gummy bear, ain't nothing but look adult candy, little snack pack. And Dosey said, I want the regular Kush, not the pink toe. Okay. You gonna get a bag of backwood Goose Creek Reggie. Fuck that. Give me the pink toe, give me the blue toe, the red toe. Give me the toad, the pack. Yeah, I want the black toes, the brown toes. Give her that backwood homegrown swamp Reggie. Rodney's barbecue. Okay, so that's where the ribs at. Rodney cooking the ribs. I need to look all these places up. I have to look them up. I couldn't find the other guy. Let me see if I can find Rodney motherfucking ass cooking. Yeah, let me see if I can find Rodney cooking. Well, I found Rodney Scott's barbecue in Charleston, but the nigga ain't got no pictures up. I'm trying to figure out why he hiding the pictures. Yeah. Okay, so he hiding the pictures, so we ain't getting nothing out of that one. Yeah, Rodney hiding the ribs. He holding on to that family seat recipe. Man, we gonna be in Mexico, man. Couple weeks out. Are y'all ready? Flight book, room book, bags packed, and I'm ready to have fun. Got the fam out there. Look at Carla, real talk. Carla gonna be in the building. Carla, we gonna be right here in Mexico. We gonna be in the building. Yes, is it going down? I just chunked the door. Down, Carla. Listen, 2 weeks. Yes, everything. Hold on, I think somebody else just bought a book. Let me see. Man, get the books, man. We in the 60s now. We trying to get down to okay, no, they did. My bad. Yeah, we trying to get down to 100 books. Trying to at least get 100 books out. So y'all help us out on that. What's up, amigo? Alright, I'm gonna shut it down right here. Shut it down right here. Check back in a little later. I ain't got that much. Hey, this right here, this piece of clutch. Jack's New York pizzeria. They stay open all night too. This is my little pizza spot. By the time you drunk, you come over here and the pizza, I think it's like $1.50 a slice. I think it's like $1.50 a slice, but this pizza is clutch. I'm telling you, every time I go downtown, I have to go get me a slice of pizza, man. I think it's like $2, $3. Come on, man. 3 weeks out. Three weeks out, man. Yes, sir. When you wake up in the morning, that's how it's gonna look. When you wake up in the morning, that's how it's gonna look. Yeah, Mexico awaits you. They said, come on, BCU. We've been waiting on y'all. They say, come on down, Indians. We've been waiting on y'all. Yep. Paradise. On top of that, then we going to catch the ferry, and then we going over, and that's gonna be a whole day because we got to go rent the carts. We're gonna be driving around. This time we got to ask for locks so we can make sure we lock them up. And then we're gonna walk the island, the back of the island. Beautiful. We're gonna get to see Eshell. And we're gonna spend a couple hours over there. We can ride to the beach. They do claim to have the best sunrise in the Caribbean island. Out of the entire Caribbean island, Isla is said to have the best. Check. They're said to have the best sunset. I'm sorry. I don't know where they got the statistics or who voted, but they say there's no place in the world. This is ancient, and it is said to be the best place in the world to watch the sun set. You did in a real way, and we'll be there. And we will be there. We will be in the building. Hey, tomorrow, meeting, 7 p.m. Central Time, Mexico. Tomorrow, meeting, 7 p.m. Central Time, Mexico. Hey, man, I love y'all. As long as you have each other, we'll meet nobody. Hey, big old Indian meeting, man. Hey, the ancestors walking with us, man.